Ever noticed how wildlife documentaries tend to leave humans out? Sure, you see the odd bloke in cargo shorts wrestling crocodiles, but the uncomfortable truth is, animals have largely vanished wherever we turned up. It's like inviting Uncle Clem to Christmas dinner. Somehow, by the end, all the crisps mysteriously disappear and you're left with crumbs and regret. But what happened to all those magnificent beasts? It turns out that as humans started exploring new continents, we didn't just politely coexist with nature. Instead, we became nature's nightmare tourists, the equivalent of a Romanian stag do descending on a quiet Spanish village. We arrived, took selfies with the local wildlife, and promptly made them extinct before the postcards even got printed. Take Australia, for instance. Around 45,000 years ago, humans discovered this enormous island continent and immediately set about improving it, mostly by setting fire to things. As every schoolchild in Britain learns early on, burning things is irresistible fun, but our ancient ancestors took it to new extremes. They burnt the forests down to chase animals, scare predators, and maybe just because Saturday nights were slow without Netflix. Unfortunately, the local animals weren't prepared for pyromaniac apes. Australia was home to creatures so bizarre they sound like fantasy football mascots: giant kangaroos, enormous wombats and marsupial lions. Imagine a lion with a pocket, presumably to keep its keys and wallet handy. These creatures had spent millions of years happily living in peace, evolving slowly, never realizing that their idyllic paradise was about to be crashed by a bunch of overconfident apes with barbecue lighters. Within just a few thousand years, essentially a blink of an eye on evolutionary scales, Australia lost most of its charismatic megafauna. The gentle giants weren't used to animals chucking pointy sticks or burning their habitat down because they fancied a barbecue. It's like they'd been playing cricket for millions of years only to suddenly discover that humans had turned up to play dodgeball badly. Meanwhile, in the Americas, humans arrived about 15,000 years ago to find an even more impressive selection of animals to accidentally wipe out. Huge ground sloths, enormous bears that made grizzlies look cuddly, and giant beavers the size of small hatchbacks. But humans saw all these magnificent beasts less as neighbors and more as walking buffets. No prehistoric human would win awards for conservation, but they'd win plenty for enthusiastic eating. It wasn't that ancient humans set out deliberately on mass extinction sprees, ticking animals off a list. They were just hungry, ambitious, and rather careless, like your mate Gary at an all-you-can-eat buffet, who refuses to leave until everything is either eaten or hidden in his pockets. Even more bizarrely, humans didn't seem to learn from their mistakes. Every time we discovered a new land full of exotic animals, we cheerfully set about repeating the process all over again, like someone who repeatedly trips over the same curb but stubbornly refuses to look down. On islands, things got even worse. Animals there hadn't had much reason to evolve sophisticated defenses. Take the dodo, an iconic bird that managed to become extinct less than a century after humans arrived. Its survival strategy involved waddling slowly around an island without predators, effective until sailors showed up. It turns out evolution had neglected to equip the dodo with either wings that worked or the basic ability to recognize imminent danger. Basically, the dodo was evolution's practical joke, which humans didn't hesitate to cruelly punchline. Now, you'd think all this animal-related destruction might teach humans a valuable lesson about caution, moderation, or at least how not to accidentally annihilate ecosystems. You'd think wrong. Today we're still making the same mistakes. Only now we wear suits and argue about it at summits. Yet perhaps most tellingly, humans also invented something completely new to cope with this guilt pets. That's right, in a stroke of human irony, we drove thousands of species into oblivion, then domesticated the few survivors, cats, dogs, hamsters, turning ferocious wolves into creatures who will happily wear knitted jumpers and tiny booties. It's as if, after a destructive house party, the guilty host tries to make up for it by adopting one houseplant, which inevitably dies too. In short, we humans are the kind of guests who've left chaos at every party we've attended, but still seem baffled as to why invitations keep drying up. Perhaps the next continent we discover should just politely refuse to let us in. After all, history has shown repeatedly, invite humans once, shame on you, invite us twice, and there'll be nothing left but pigeons, rats, and a particularly smug species of ape with thumbs.